to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Kimberly, if you can call roll, please.
President Bill Dismet.
Here.
Vice President Richard Lindsay.
Here.
Secretary Nat Compo. Treasurer George Seifert. Trustee Chris McCollum.
Here.
Trustee Lisa Middleton. Trustee Carrie Nicholson. Here.
We'll do our customary moment of silence. Carrie, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So one piece I'd like to ask is with the new microphones, we're gonna, anybody can put their phone on airplane mode, that will definitely help us with some of the feedback on that. We'd appreciate it. We even made Richard do it, so.
I got it.
So, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda with, I'll let you read through the changes.
Yeah, I would move for approval of the agenda with the appointment of Chris McComb, if she's willing to serve as secretary for the session, and also the change in award amount to $69,316.74 for action item 8C.
Support.
Do a roll call. Carrie?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. We're going to go to academic highlights. Title I program at Hughes Elementary. Matt?
Well, good evening, everybody. New place to present for me. How exciting. So there are two Title I buildings here in Marshall, and one is the Harrington, of course, and Hughes would be the other one. And I thought tonight we'd take an opportunity to really present what Title I is and what Title I looks like here in our building at Hughes, and how we provide those services and some of the students that we service, and then how that looks and how it's been a very successful thing for us over the years. So I brought along Julia Underhill, who's our Title I services provider, and she has a Title I aide, Darlene Squire, who couldn't be here tonight. But they service, how many kids do we service? 76 kids, K through 5 in our building. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, and then go through, if you have questions while we're giving this little presentation, go ahead and ask them. And then what we find has been successful in our building as well. So I'm going to let you come up here, and I'll do the slides if you do the talk.
Hi, my name is Julia Underhill, and I've been teaching in this district for 26 years, 36 years altogether. I'm happy to be here to talk about our program at Hughes and along with Marshall Public Schools. I was hired as a reading specialist in 1991, and I started in the middle school with grades 4, 5 included. We were called a remedial program, and we kind of linked ourselves to the Promise program and several others. A couple years later, we turned into a full Title I program. I started out at the middle school and traveled to Madison and to Gordon all in one day. Sometimes I would find myself heading home, but we did it, and it was a wonderful program. And many years later, I transferred to Hughes Elementary as my sole school. Several years after we were doing Title I within those three buildings, Marcia Frank came to me and said that we were going to change into we're going to have another program added, and I would have to go back to school. I thought it was for a year, and it's been ever since. So 20-some years I've been training as a reading recovery specialist, and we have 5 in our district right now, 2 at Harrington that are going through training. Leslie Hoblitz is at Gordon, and then at Walters is Sam D. Williams. We trained through Western Michigan University, and then a big change was changed over to Oakland University. We meet once a month on a Thursday in Jackson with the CISD with Megan McCormick. It's very intense. That's how we get our certification each year. We are behind a glass where many peers watch us and evaluate us. We have our professor come, our director Megan McCormick, come to our building. And then we have a variety of homework things that we have to do in data. I've always wanted to be a reading specialist since I was very young. I had a wonderful woman named Mrs. Fish. She was a speech and Title I director, and she made us all feel important. So when I graduated as an educator at elementary school, I knew that my next step was going to be going back to school, and I got lucky. Went to Western Michigan University and trained under a man called Joe Chapel. He's retired since. And reading recovery was part of that, but he didn't believe in that theory. So I had both things going on with me at the time that Marcia came to me and said that you really have to do it, you really don't have a choice. So I enjoy teaching the at-risk. I pull myself in not only with the children, but with their families. I know a lot of families. I get close with them. I visit them. I connect with them with family nights. You'll see in a little bit. I provide them with food and clothing from donations throughout the community. And I take pride in assisting teachers in the building to become better reading teachers. And that's sometimes hard too. And I also follow many years of the district expectations and changes that we've had within our program of all the 3 elementary schools. I involve myself in district meetings, SIP meetings, district-wide, in our building, and I'm a representative of the Marshall Teachers Association as the secretary. So that's a little background about me.
And we're going to go through this slide here, these slides here, and what Title I is, and then some of the things we do in our building. I'm going to point out that Julie had to go behind the glass.
Yes.
This last Thursday, was
Yeah.
it? Once a year they do this behind the glass, which is very interesting. Imagine you're in an interrogation room, and there are about how many people watching you?
Oh, probably about 25 now.
25. You bring your own kid. All right. Obviously, I think you got to make sure the kid's the right kid. Everyone has to drive them, and then you do your normal lesson, like I've observed many hundreds of times, except you have all these people watching you taking notes about every little thing that you do. So the program is pretty intense, and then afterwards you debrief and meet about what went well, what didn't go well, and just how to become a better teacher.
Yeah.
But it's pretty neat how they have that set up, and we've been running it through Jackson County for how long now?
This is our 3rd year.
Third year for Jackson, so it's neat. So Title I. So I'll take this one here. So part of Title I provides financial assistance to states and school districts to meet the needs of educationally at-risk students. The goal of Title I is to provide extra instructional services and activities with support students as identified as failing or most at risk for failing in the state's challenging performance standards. At Hughes, we support students K-5 that meet the criteria in reading and writing. And that's Julie's room there with the new blinds, by the way. I just want to make sure I pointed that out before. Okay. So how do we identify kids? This is always a question we get from parents, and we also get from teachers sometimes too. So I'm going to have Julie go through this.
So every spring, we have a variety of tests per grade level. There's different criteria for K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The teachers are expected to do running records, check vocabulary, but not only that, the reading specialists also do that. So we have our own data sheets. We discuss with teachers, okay, this is where you have them, this is where we have them, let's see if we can come into the middle. Most children have a zone of proximal development, which we work with the Faunus-Pinnell program, so it could be that the child's lying at an F for maybe me, but for a G for the teacher. So we really decide if they have all those criteria. Students are selected because they're experiencing difficulty in reading. Either the teacher has requested that we take a better look at them. Sometimes parents call in, sometimes they transferred from different schools, and we have to look even closer. Or anyone that's new that we don't have any information about them, the reading specialist is supposed to go ahead and test them and see where they rank within their classroom. So at Hughes School, we have 2 of each grade level. So what I do is I rank the children with their scores from the spring, if they have it, or I retest them for the fall. And we rank them from the bottom level all the way up to the top. We indicate if there's special education because we don't take those children. And we go ahead and draw a line. So 30% of our children at Hughes are serviced. You can go between 20 and 30%. And we go ahead and we have a limit of below, average, or high. And then we give that to the teacher, and then their expectations of the district is to go ahead and do a September reading record of something, of vocabulary, and that. And then we again compare, and then we go ahead and do the assessments and see a need of additional support. The student performance in reading standardized testing is below grade level. So if you're in kindergarten, it's A through D, and some of the kindergartners are non-readers, so that could go down 6 levels. So you kind of look at them. Most likely we pick up the children in Title I that are reading at level A. And then it goes on into first grade, and they're supposed to be at a D, so anybody that's below that, we'll pick them up. And it's a kind of a give and take because we can't service everyone. Now at Hughes, I'm very, very lucky. I have Darlene Squire, and she's in this picture right here, and she is wonderful. She's been with our district, I think, about 10 years, and she worked with the special ed department, and then I got her. And she is like my right hand. When I'm not thinking, she's thinking for me. And what she does is, at Hughes, we're very lucky. We're able to divide our children according. I usually take the lowest of the lows, and then she'll take the ones that are almost to that level to get back into their classroom. So she'll pull them out. We have a table and chairs for her in another area. She has a whiteboard. She has every material that I have and use. Then she does the same thing.
And having the Title I is very important because it allows us to see more kids.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a static system. As kids grow and move on, they come out of the program and back into the regular classroom setting. And remember, it's not a pull-out program per se where they're missing. It is a pull-out program and such, but they're not missing reading instruction. It's in addition to that reading instruction in the classroom. So it's more time that they're getting to hopefully get back to grade level. Obviously, kindergartens are our toughest area because they all come in a little bit. Because in A, we're going to talk a little bit more about Fondas and Fidel, but it's an A to Z system. But not all A's are created equal, okay? There could be an A here or an A down here, depending on how much preschool, how much learning that kid has coming in.
Nice. And then the next part of it too is that we have, for the parents, we send out letters of identification. We have identified your child, and then they send us back the permission to take that child in.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about parent involvement here as we go on. The goals of the program are to help students reach their potential in reading, help students gain skills that are necessary to function at grade level in the general education classroom environment, help students develop a positive attitude towards school, specifically toward reading, to help students improve their self-image, help students experience success, and to help them with interpersonal relationships concerning their learning problems. And so that's a fancy way of saying is help them get confidence, because confidence is a great thing in a kid. You can see as they get more confident, they can really zoom up in those levels of reading as they go from grade to grade. But certainly we try to, the balance of our program, we service 72 kids, but about half of that is the lower L, okay, over half really, K2, and then it kind of gets hopefully smaller and smaller as the grade levels continue up. But certainly, we have kids in 4th or 5th grade that still need help, and they need that teacher, they want that help to succeed in the classroom. Okay, go ahead.
So the program operates as a pull-out program. The service is individualized in small group settings, so I might have 4 to 6 children sitting in front of me. 2 of them might need a certain level, 2 might need something else, somebody else might need vocabulary. So I individualize their program through that. And then we also have group settings because they need to get used to what's going on in the classroom. So we have small groups so they can learn how to read a book, ask questions, and that. Classes are scheduled 4 or 5 days a week. We have a 2 to 2.5 hour window that we're supposed to use per week level. Our strengths and weaknesses are diagnosed and each student is helped accordingly. I just said that. And then student experience a variety of teaching methods, different than what's in the classroom. And we also teach teachers of that too. Our material is different and approaches designed to meet their individual needs are parallel to the classroom. So they're not seeing necessarily the same books or workbooks or whatever we're working on as they would see in the classroom. So teaching to come together.
So throughout, we do a system of progress monitoring to see if the kid is advancing or not. That includes, we talked a lot about running records. For the lower grades, we have things through the Michigan Literacy Progress Profile, including concepts of print, letter, and sound ID, sight word recognition, and just observational surveys of how they're working in the classroom. basically about how these kids are doing and whether or not they're ready to go move out of the program. And then we also talk about who could come into the program as well, because we always have kids that are right on that fence, and you might know about a kid like that, who could be in Title I or not in Title I, and it just depends how well they're doing in the classroom. And we've taken kids in
Yep.
halfway through the year, and we've moved them out before the end of the year as well. So a little bit more about Faunus and Pinnell.
So,
You don't have to read this, but you can just go ahead and talk a little bit
yeah,
more about
Faunus
that.
Pinnell is a series that we started with our testing for the classrooms. It's a guided reading program. It has a variety of words, phonics, vocabulary activities, writing activities, comprehension activities that the children work with within their classrooms. Each teacher has a set of books, or thousands of books. I would say kindergarten's probably less than any of them. Many of them have many books that are leveled according to Faunus Pinnell, because you need to, as progress monitoring, to be able to pull a book out of a basket and be able to read with that child and do kind of a check sheet. In the Title I program, I was very, very lucky to, our school was very, very lucky to be a focus school, because at that time we were provided with this program for the Title I, for the at-risk. And it's around a $10,000 program that we put in our classes. Gordon School has one, and Hughes School has another. And we use them, Darlene and I, my aide and I, use those every single day. It's a series of books for independent reading where the child is. We use them in small groups or individual. We lend them to the teachers. They'll come in. In fact, I had a teacher today that she's at the end of this, she doesn't have any more books, so I gave her a set of them. And the lessons designed to support effective and well-paced teaching, because that's what you wanted them to do, is to get up by the end of the year. And each lesson is comprised of 4 or 5 parts, so you could do it one part each day. And it takes about 45 minutes to teach, where my program is only 30 minutes. So we kind of blend it into the next day. I had a lesson today. Tomorrow I'll do word study, and then Wednesday I will do the rest of the lesson. Wonderful books, though.
I would say we were blessed to get the program. I wouldn't say
No,
we were blessed
well.
to be a focus school, but I understand what you're trying to say.
We were awarded a lot
Let
of
that
things.
blessing never come upon us again.
Yeah.
All right. The most critical aspect of the Title I program is parent communication. And really, we try to go above and beyond in communicating with parents. And talk a little bit about book bags, talk a little bit about, all the requirements parents have in this program.
They do, and I get to hold it over them. Parents sign a compact, as I told you before, a contract that says that they provide 10 minutes of quiet time at home for homework. They're expected to do that every day, because I send homework even home on Friday. They're expected to read with their child. We have little mini classes of how to do that, so they are aware of that. Student attendance, I had a child that was gone for a week, and I end up calling the homes and talk to the parents about that, and they usually do come back, or if they were on vacation, whatever. And then also the parent attendance at conferences. Sometimes parents won't come, and I end up calling them up, or I'll invite them in, and they'll come in and talk to Darlene and I. Parents are given regular updates. I send newsletters out a lot, and they also receive a full report card of all the testing that we talked about, plus other things that are going on. And they also have surveys. So I just sent out a survey the other day that basically asked about the program.
All this is in your written
Yeah.
packets, if you want to look through that, all kinds of parent communication, other
Yeah.
things in the program. So
And then,
in your leisure time, you want to learn more about.
so we found out that, we got probably about 15 surveys back over the weekend, and we found out that parents like the homework bags. Some parents feel it's not as good because they forget, so they kind of almost pour their hearts out in these little paragraphs. It's very helpful to us, and then I'm able to call them back. Or one parent said that the daughter's going to her husband's house in Texas. Could we please send materials with her? So Darlene and I'll get up, or myself will get up a packet of books and things to send with her to study. I also have a tutoring program that I do in the summer, and Darlene's been helping me for the past couple of years, and that has been very, very successful. We already have 35 children signed up between the two of us. do it Monday through Friday in the mornings. So parents really want that. And then I make deals with them too. I barter what you can do, you can pay something. So it makes them want to come in.
And I think, we really do. I mean, if a parent is not communicating it to us,
Right.
we get on the phone and we talk to them, because it's important they are involved completely if their student is going to be able to get back to grade level where we need them to be in reading. Those book bags, you see
Oh, yeah.
those little book bags there? No, these are books that go home every night, and then they get replenished and they go home again. And back when I was a teacher, and Julie was when I was at Gordon,
Yeah.
we go back a ways. I walk into her Title I room there, and these book bags are lying on the floor by the door. And I would
Pick 'em up.
And I'd always pick them up, put them on the table, and she probably said, "Will you stop doing that?" I'm like, "Why? I'm going to trip on them. I don't want to step on these book bags." And she's like, "That is so they remember to take them and put them in their locker on the way back." So just the word of the wise, put those backpacks right in front of the door in the morning, or those lunches right in front of the door in the morning, so they trip on them.
So the parents also have a calendar in there, and if I find that they're not bringing their books back signed by someone, so they have brothers or sisters too, I'll accept anybody, the bus driver, whoever, then I do call home and I say, your son or daughter is not bringing their things back. And then the other thing is that they'll start tattling on themselves as they go, so they'll remind themselves, and they'll say, this is how you talk to your mom, this is what you need from them. So that, it's been very successful.
Because of the communication we do, I think our parent nights, which we do receive money for, are some of the best attended events that we have. So just about a month ago, we had our parent night. We provide activities for kids, dinner, activities, and then we give away prizes even, don't
Yep.
we? So we usually get almost
We-
every parent in the program
Yeah.
that comes to our parent nights because of this. They've been hugely successful, and they're a lot of fun to be at. So this was ours just like I said, about a month ago. And here's the funny thing. I had a kid who saw the setup for the parent night when they were leaving to get on the bus. And she said, "I want to come to that." I'm like, "Well, hon, you're not really part of the program." Lo and behold, she showed up with her parent, and we said we didn't have the heart to kick her out.
No.
So we just said, "Yeah, go ahead."
She brought
Yeah,
grandma,
so-
cousins, and sister.
So, we'll take everybody, even if they're not part of Title I, so. So that was, the big picture there of a parent night that we had in the cafeteria. So that's a little bit about Title I. There's more information in your packets. What questions do you have for either one of us?
So is math not included at all in title programs
No,
traditionally?
we haven't included it in Marshall Public Schools. We do, I will tell you, we do help children that need help with studying. So we sneak it in there, I would say. I'm telling you my secret, but we do assist children that are in need. We study social studies science with them. We get them ready for a test if they're having it.
Especially in the upper L.
Yeah, we prepped for M-STEP. Darlene and I do. We have test booklets that I have gotten over the years, and we use those. So we do assist children that need assisting. We also assist parents. There are many, many, many parents that can't read. And some, I have one right now that's a second grade. She says she never learned anything after that. Another one's a fourth grade reading ability. And she has children that are older. And so she will call, but she can't help them. So we'll assist her or make sure that one of us, Darlene or I, are able to. And I always make the teachers aware of this too, because they don't necessarily share with the teachers. They feel comfortable in that little room to share those things. So we do a lot of that too.
Can you talk more about what sort of rewards that you give to get parents to be involved? You said that there are things that you do to get
You
them
guys,
to.
I do stickers for the children, so we saw where the children were getting stickers. That's for the children. At the family nights, the prizes they get,
We spend a little bit more
we-
than our budget
yeah.
probably on family
we
nights.
have books that we've sent home, so this time was focused on families. And I sent home chapter books that were kind of in that child's grade level, but we sent home chapter books. I sent home food at the end, so we need that. I sent home paper and pencils and pens. games this year, where people got a new game to take home. I'm not sure, I do bug the parents to get there. I do call them, I say, I haven't received your RSVP, and I need to see you there. Your child needs to be there, they wanna come, and it's almost like guilt that some of them are on, but it's neat, once they come, once that kind of parent comes, they don't stop coming. Because I've been doing this for, I think it's been 5 years, 4 to 5 years. And my groups have gone up about 20 each year. So it's really neat.
It's more than, we like to say, if you feed them, they're gonna
Yeah.
come. But in our building, we've found that we've fed them for other activities, and they haven't always come. It's really the communication. We call them up, we send constant reminders that we're doing these things. And then we also have fun things that we give
Right.
away. This year, our PCO kicked in some money, and every kid who came also got
Oh, yeah, that's right.
10 additional dollars at the book fair,
Yeah.
which was
For
open
their
that
home.
night.
So some of them took home from 2 to 4 books home. Then the PCO was so generous, the child was like kind of almost crying that they didn't have this one. They kind of threw that one in too. So our PCO was great this year. I kind of told them about my program, and they really dished it out. And sometimes from the public community of Marshall, I'll be able to pick up things. We had T-shirts one year. We had tickets for like outside restaurants. But I think it's more of that communication that I bring on. I know the parents very well, very, very well. And I make sure that I get to know them. Some of them, they don't want to get too close, and that's okay. But the majority are there.
It is a bit of a struggle. Sometimes we get parents, as Julie was talking about, who didn't have very good experiences in school, and now we're telling them their child is behind and needs more work in school.
Yeah.
And honestly, they start thinking, okay, I didn't have a good experience, now my kid is already behind. We've tried to, through this small program, try to get them more involved, feel welcome, feel like school's not the enemy, they're there to support their family and support their kids.
Because they come in and watch. They'll come in and watch. They'll come to school. They'll call, say, "Can I come in on Friday?" I'll make a special deal with them, and I'll bring with the child, and I'll bring the child back down and teach them in front of the parents so they're able to do it at home. But most of my problems are the parents that can't be. They're working at night. They're not home with that child. So I always keep reminding them, grandmas, aunts, whoever. Like I said, the bus driver, whatever they want, go for it. Because you just need to read.
Great stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, now, members of the audience may address the board on agenda items only. Nobody's moving forward, so we're going to move to report of the superintendent, special recognition.
Okay. I'm going to announce first our new hires. Victoria Owens fills the position of bus driver in the Transportation Department. Ms. Owens is a graduate of Everett High School of Lansing, Michigan. Jennifer Aldrich fills the position of special education paraprofessional at Walters Elementary. Ms. Aldrich is a graduate of Marshall High School. She obtained her associate's degree with a major in early childhood education from Kellogg Community College. Our retirements, Lisa South was hired into Marshall Public Schools on September 4th, 2007 as a playground supervisor at Walters Elementary. Ms. South's position later evolved into a paraprofessional position within our special education program. Ms. South retires with 9.5 years of service to Marshall Public Schools, and I know that she's earned every minute of that time in our school system, so really excited about her taking this step. And then Marshall High School class of 2017, and the top 10 and departmental recipients are going to be honored. The Marshall Rotary Club and the Marshall Exchange Club join together and hold their annual top 10 senior and department honors awards luncheon. It will be scheduled for Monday, or it is scheduled for Monday, May 1st. The awards program will be held in the Frank Center for the Arts. What I'm excited about is there's 10 top seniors and there's 7 departmental recipients for honors in their department. And out of that, we have a total of 16 unique seniors being honored in this program, which is really outstanding. So, great achievement. While I have your attention, I want to say a few other things on schedules. I'm going to go off the agenda just a little bit. Coming up on tomorrow and Wednesday, I'll be involved in the Governor's Economic and Education Summit up in Lansing, so I'll be going back and forth. I wanted you to be aware also that, just a reminder that the Calhoun Area School Board Association is having their annual awards dinner being hosted at Union City at 6 p.m. On Wednesday, the 26th, and Harry Bonner is being recognized as special accommodation, and our own Vic Potter is being recognized as receiving the Citizens Award. And then we formed our PK-16 Advisory Committee. It's a very fluid committee, so we're inviting anyone that's interested in participating in that dialogue about how we're implementing our PK-16 model to come to those meetings when they're posted. We'll try to be much more public about those postings and try to get them on Facebook and that kind of stuff. And you can come as you can. If you have to miss one, that's no bother. This coming Thursday on the 27th, our PK-16 Advisory Committee is going to be at the Ludington Center starting at 5:30. And that'll be the first time I'll be talking about completion rates for our Albion students. So that should be an interesting dialogue.
Do you want me to put something on Facebook about it? I haven't yet.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Okay, that finishes my section of it. You can go to leadership.
Okay, leadership team reports. Anybody have any comments, questions? Again, we really appreciate receiving these. It allows us to keep in touch and see what's going on with all the schools. We're going to move on to discussion. Kroll building.
Yeah, the first on the agenda is the Kroll building. Back when we were talking about facilities and use and so forth, I had indicated back then that we had 4 buildings that were being turned over to us through annexation. One of those being Caldwell, which was really clear that we weren't going to be bringing Caldwell back to fruition, and that's slated for demolition coming up. The other one was Harrington, and we decided to bring that back to life after it was closed for almost 3 years. And we're moving forward with that and continuing to invest capital dollars in improving that facility. I mentioned that Kroll was in pretty bad shape, and I was concerned about Kroll. And then, of course, this facility and how we are going to leverage this facility not only for our Opportunity High School, but for inviting the Albion Community Center to take residents here and other community groups as they see fit down in this west side of the building. Well, in 1 year of operation, we've seen Kroll experience a number of challenges in its physical plant. We've had the issues about the repainting outside, the chip paint and those types of things, dealing with that. We've had a broken water pipe, and in looking at the interior of those water pipes, they're extremely corroded. They have a lot of rust and metal inside of it, so we're going to have to deal with that issue coming up. When we take a look at the roof, there's a number of leaks in that building. As we took a look at the health of those roofs, we're concerned about not only it needs to be a total re-roof, what we're concerned it might go down to decking in spots where we'd have to replace decking, which in my mind, that's kind of like a non-starter when you talk about replacing a deck. The boilers are functional, but high maintenance, and we expect to incur sizable chunk of dollars investing in the boilers. I talked about the plumbing needs, the playground equipment, the asphalt, security cameras, and access to control upgrades for that building. We're totaling right now over $500,000 of short-term investment in that building, and possibly more depending on what else crops up. At the same time, we're spending about $160,000 in operational costs to run that building every year. So being that we're looking at renovation over here in this building, and we've already got your approval to move forward on those bids, and we're having a meeting tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, we're having a meeting Wednesday afternoon as I come back from Lansing with King Scott and CSM. We're going to be talking to them about finalizing a plan on how we bring our early childhood programs into this facility over on the northeast wing of the building. securing the traffic flow between programs as we've already outlined and designed. And we'll be bringing that back for final recommendation to you. But I'm telling you now that we're looking at bringing those programs out of Kroll, bringing them over here, and then talking about closing Kroll down. At that point, we'd have to come back to the board and ask what your druthers would be, whether we put that on the market for sale or we keep it mothballed for a while and then make that decision. So that's open for discussion at this point.
So I guess there was concern about
Could you talk in?
this being an appropriate building even for elementary age kids. Is it going to be an appropriate building for kids that are even younger?
Yes, based on the designs that we have for renovations, absolutely. The early childhood programs are managed by licensing requirements, anywhere from how many feet you have to go from a classroom to a restroom and those different things. And so we're going to make sure that, and we've had our partners that are over at Kroll now, which is the CISD, in their early childhood programs, as well as Community Action Agency with their Head Start and their GSRP program. And they've come over and walked through as well, and they really like the footprint over here. And they like the access that it has not only to the drop-off area, but also to the back area for playground. So they're kind of getting excited about it. And when we talk about renovations based on licensing, anything from the way the flooring needs to be to whether or not there's wood paneling in the classroom and how that has to be taken out and replaced. I mean, there's a lot of renovation that would be tied into this. But any way we look at it, the investment in the facilities and the cost avoidance that we're going to have that's going to be in front of us with Kroll is probably the best pathway. And that's why I'm bringing it to the board.
So is there going to be any other outreach with the community, or, I mean, what's the planning going forward?
Well, I'll be talking about it in our PK-16 committee. If we need to have some forums for folks that use that facility, we can do that a number of times between now and the end of the school year. Michelle's really on top of that, and we can coordinate those kind of sessions if we need to over there. Having a huge community forum, I don't think that's necessary. I think it's more necessary to have the parents that are actually using that facility to have that dialogue.
I just remember one of the concerns was that there were people in that neighborhood that had their kids in Head Start there, so transportation is going to be dealt with.
Absolutely. We've already talked to Mike about transportation needs. The majority of the kids are driven, actually, other than buses that are already currently transporting. Yeah, so we really don't have a lot of pedestrian foot traffic, not that you would imagine. And we know that from our conversations with transportation, the upgrades we're going to have with transportation, we think we'll be able to manage that well. Anything else? Other questions? So we'll just bring you back a plan of renovation. We'll unveil that with the families that are participating over at Kroll so they can see what that looks like over here. May have an open house over here at some point for that review. And we try to tie that into some board discussion as well. All right? Good.
Thank you. Next, we have curriculum proposals.
Linda?
I'm here.
There you go.
Thank you. I'm here representing the recommendation of the Curriculum Council for, we were here last month for World History, AP World History and United States History Government. This time around, we're here representing the recommendation of the Curriculum Council in regard to, and I have to look at my notes because they've changed it, Agri-Science, Food, and Natural Resources, which is kind of the old FFA, and the representation that those letters equate out to an acronym, but don't ever try to pronounce it. We have some course offering changes. We have related textbook offerings that are related to both the high school and the middle school, and those proposals are in your packet.
and represent those changes that we are recommending. The current courses of botany and zoology have recommended reflections of those standards. And the proposal also is for a name change for an elective course at the high school that used to be Leadership by Design and is now Advanced AFNR Leadership. That also will reflect the career and technical education standards along with the AFNR standards. And also, we are offering the opportunity for middle school students to become involved with an entitled course, another elective, for 7th and 8th graders. It will be the Middle School Agriculture / FFA Leadership class. So we're excited about offering that opportunity for next year. And in addition, we have 3 textbooks for the high school courses that we put into effect based upon our proposals and recommendations from last year for the high school science fiction class, which is for 12th graders. The 3 books are A Wizard of Earthsea, The Martian Chronicles, and Ender's Game. Those are our recommendations. What questions do you have?
So the FFA class is really the next logical step to try to really get the program back.
Correct. And Laura and I know Scott's here this evening, could answer any questions you might have.
Only if I have a staff member to do that. You will. Okay. I'll give it to you. Okay. Good. We're gonna actually have Laura go down to the middle school and teach it to get it going
Okay,
the first year.
perfect.
So that's exciting to think about that connection for our middle schoolers as they feed into the high school.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Kids don't know yet. They will.
Yeah, it's be on YouTube later.
Well,
Watching,
once
so.
we have the staffing, then we'll make sure the kids are okay.
I think also the AFNR leadership, advanced leadership, is securing what our pathway is for our students that are in AFNR, their ability to be able to earn their 6 credits after they become a completer through this process and get connected to the KCC initiative as well as Michigan State. So this is aligned very well with what we need to have in place.
So as always, we're asking the board to consider this and table and to be then voted on by next month's meeting.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is technology.
Yeah, Taryn, you want to come up and unveil your plan here?
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
All righty, thank you for this opportunity. As a Albion resident, as a parent of kids in Marshall Public Schools, I'm really excited about where the school district is going. To hear the model as a parent, I'll say first, I'm excited about that. And then as a staff member, I'm excited about it as well. When I was interviewed in the summer of 2015, I believe it was Paul Holbrook, asked me a question. And he asked me, what would be the first thing you do if you were hired in as the director of technology? And I thought about it for a minute. And as with anything, you want to evaluate something before you start coming to a conclusion and building a hypothesis of what we need to do in a given position. And so I wanted to evaluate what we have in our district at that time. And of course, the dynamic changed last summer with the annexation. And so I just finished really doing a thorough assessment of our technology across the district. And I think you received a copy of that. I think it's about 9 or 10 pages long. I apologize for that. I get long-winded sometimes, but nonetheless, there's a lot of good information in there. So what we've tried to do since March is compile a list of what we have with regard to technology, what technology is useful to us, what technology isn't of any value to us, not just monetarily, but just from a practical perspective in a day-to-day learning environment. If you look at what we're doing in the district, there's 3 gentlemen that work with me, and so the 4 of us, we're supporting 10 campuses, and there's 263 learning spaces across those 10 campuses. And technology is integrated in every one of those. We have like 24 switch and server closets, 20 physical data servers. We've got 8 phone servers, 268 phones, 83 switches, 285 wireless access points. That's just right now. Technology keeps growing, devices keep getting brought in. So we look at things like projectors and document cameras and iPads, Chromebooks, desktops, laptops. We still have 54 VHS players in the district. And
Are they being
120
used? Are they being used?
They are being used. They are being used. We have 128 DVD VHS combos still being used in the district. This isn't stuff just stashed away. This is in production. And we know those technologies are antiquated. They still serve a purpose to some extent, but at some point we're going to have to do something about it. And all this being said, we wanted to try and find a way that we could identify what the immediate needs were versus the long-term goals and where we need to land as a district to be not just cutting edge where we can say we're cutting edge, but staying up current with the times. That would have helped. The irony here.
Got it.
It's wonderful. So we wanted to try and find those areas that were necessary to address right now versus what is long-term needing to be addressed yet, but find those areas that we can improve on. One of those things is our projectors, as an example, across the district. Right now, we have projectors that are between 5 and 7, maybe 10 years old, some of them, and we're burning through the bulbs right now. I have one classroom in Dave's building. Had to throw that in there. Has already went through 5 bulbs this school year. And to give you perspective, those are about, on average, $60 a piece. We can't stock them because they have a shelf life, so as we need them, we're constantly ordering these bulbs. And one of the things we think that we associate with the problem is that these are older devices and technologies as they age, they start getting hotter and the heat increase messes with the heat sink on the bulb and they basically pop, as a light bulb does, the filament. So we need to address that as an example of where we're going. We have in our server rooms and our switch closets, we have devices that basically are battery-powered devices, UPSs, that power our switches and our servers, that in the event of a power failure, it doesn't take them down hard, so we can shut them down softly, and therefore we don't have hardware failures. But we have aging UPSs that are probably 10 to 12 years old. And so we've lost a couple switches because they failed, and we had a power outage, and the switch failed, so then we had to get that repaired. Chromebooks and iPads, document cameras, these types of devices were aging. We haven't, to the best of, as best as I can find documentation-wise, we haven't really established a purchasing cycle for anything technology-related. It's usually been, if there's a need, we come to the board and say we have a need, and that's how we do it. And I feel like that's not a good model to have. I feel like we need to start planning for things. And you'll see why here in a moment. To give you an example of changing with the times is most of the elementaries have 3 desktops assigned to the classroom. And I've talked to some of the elementary teachers, and they say that that's a large footprint in their classroom. What can we do different? So one of the things that we've discussed is trying to take those 3 desktops, and we could replace those 3 desktops with 2 Chromebooks and 2 iPads for about a savings of $300 in each classroom. So for less money, we could put 4 devices in place of 3, have a smaller footprint in the classroom where they can pull these out of a cupboard, use these devices in their environment, in their learning space, and be more profitable, in my opinion. So we've tried to put that in the report that I've given you tonight. I've tried to lay out, basically, if we had to start today, and we said for the next 6 years we're going to commit to purchasing devices and in improving our deployment of technology across the district and being somewhat cutting edge, if you will, with our ideas, then this would be an example of a plan. Do we need the devices all today? For the most part, we really do. We really do. We have a lot of aging devices. Dave, as an example, in the middle school, has at least one, and I believe a second cart of Chromebooks that are now not holding charge. And these Chromebooks are not devices that you can just buy a new battery and throw the battery in. You literally have to buy a new Chromebook. If they were under a warranty, you could send it back in, but they're all out of warranty now. The iPads we have are all out of warranty. You can't swap an iPad battery out. So we're looking at these things and saying, we've got to have a plan for replacement. And to take it as an example here, if we took in year one and we started looking at what we need is projectors and the UPSs, and the NIC is a NIC card for the UPSs. And that basically allows us to monitor when they go down when we have a power failure. So we're not just going through all those closets trying to figure out which one it was or if there is an issue. If we replace those in 1 year, we'd be looking at about $142,500, give or take. If we went to year two, we would look at the document cameras, Chromebooks, and iPads. Now this jumps significantly from year one only because there's so many devices and because these devices are aging so quickly. As an example, the iPads, and Apple does this with their products, they have now made the iPad 1 through 3 obsolete for the future iOS 10 updates. So you can no longer update those devices, which creates a problem when teachers are using the Google apps in the classroom. You can't update the Google app because iOS can't be updated. So we kind of have an issue with that. Even last year, we had to apply updates in order to use the apps in the classroom that were needed. So we're looking at things like this. Year three, the wireless devices are going to continue to grow in their ability to transfer data at a quicker rate. And so as people bring devices onto our network, students, staff, the devices that we have deployed, we're going to have a very large number of devices touching our network. So we need to start considering that in 3 years. Well, how are we going to handle that? Because basically anything that's created today in 6 months is obsolete because the advancement of technology grows so rapidly and quickly. Year four, we would look at the desktop deployment and trying to identify those areas that really need a desktop rather than just because there's one, replace it with another. And that's the example that we gave with the elementary desktops, is that we could do some creative modeling with Chromebooks and iPads and save some money in each classroom. Year five, we were looking at, in year five, laptops. Our teacher laptops were purchased in 2014 and were deployed to staff in 2014. They seem to be doing okay. We have a warranty that's running out this year actually on those. So any repairs going further past that warranty date will be on us. One thing I wanted to make mention about the desktops that we have, we purchased those desktops in 2015, but we purchased refurbished devices that were manufactured in 2010. So when we bought them, they were already 5 years old, and we bought a 3-year warranty, basically, that if a hard drive fails, we can send a hard drive in. So by the time that is over in 2018, we'll have an 8-year-old device. I tried to purchase, it's kind of funny, I was trying to purchase memory for the building secretaries to help upgrade their desktops so they could do their job because their desktops were just laboring. They couldn't click and surf the internet or do anything because of all the tasks they were running. And it took 3 or 4 different sticks of memory to get the right memory for their desktops, as an example. So parts are becoming a little more difficult to find to upgrade these older devices. That's part of the need there. So we're looking at how we can mitigate some of these repairs that we need to do and upgrades, as well as the advancement in technology that's needed. Year 6 would round out with the network switches and the core switch that we have. Now, this is the upgrade that we came to you about in, I guess it was the winter of 2015, and we did an RFP for the network hardware upgrade. And that was all the campuses in Marshall would be upgraded with the new switches, because at that time, in 2015, we had 7 to 10-year-old switches. And the average lifespan of a network switch is about 5 to 6 years. So we're living on borrowed time with those. Fortunately, we found that there was E-rate funding that we could tap into, and we got approved for that funding. That project is being funded 70% through USAC. So that's 70% of the bill that we're not having to foot, and which is significant with an upgrade like that. So we're doing that this year. But I put that out there just as a perspective that we want to keep this in our mind, that we have a cycle when we're purchasing items. Funding's always going to be an issue. How are we going to do it? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I just know we need to start the discussion. We need to start thinking about this, and how do we accommodate the need that we do have that may not be so bad today. So thank you for your time. And any questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
So your cycle that you're talking about is a 6-year cycle.
Correct.
And as I listened to you about iPads 1, 2, and 3, and when they became obsolete for iPad 4, and 3 to 5, maybe 6 years for warranties to expire and different things like that, is a 6-year rotation aggressive enough?
No, it's not. It is not. That is a very conservative model. Very conservative. If we today were able to, we should replace everything but the desktops today and laptops for teachers. If you totaled up all 6 years, we would spend $1,808,682 over the course of 6 years. That's spread out, but it's not aggressive enough, no.
So in a sense, there should be a little piece of year 1 with a little piece of year 2, and kind of rotate more aggressively every 3 years or 4 years for that to happen.
Correct. Yes.
What would it cost us to invest in having a more aggressive cycle?
You could take, you could probably take year 2 and split it into year 1 and 3, and then take year 5 and put it in with year 4, and year 6 actually within year 4 and 5 as well. You would be looking then at 3 years ranging between $600,000 and $800,000 for 3 years, every 3 years. So.
Can we use our existing sinking fund for any of these costs?
No,
The law was changed, so if we passed another one, we could do it.
it's another one, but you can't use the existing
Because
sinking
the
fund
language is
because of the language.
So in the next sinking fund renewal, we can indicate that technology is part of that sinking fund renewal.
Correct. So if we do a renewal of the sinking fund, we can add technology and security, which is what they opened up the sinking fund on, to that.
Yep.
It's still called a renewal?
It's still called a renewal.
Yep.
And with regard to security, as an example, we're working right now. We have 2 RFPs, one finished on Friday. We opened the bid results on Friday. We'll open the other on Thursday of this week. Last week's was for the video surveillance unification. We have 2 different video surveillance, that's not even in this report, but 2 different video surveillance systems between Marshall and Albion. We have 2 different access control systems, which is the bid for Thursday. And so we're trying to create unification between systems, but also that we can manage them, because there's some of the proponents are proprietary, they're outdated, and some will not even support them, as an example. Very similar to the security system discussion that we've had here with this building and some of the Albion campuses. So that's aside from what we have going on here. That would be part of the sinking fund that we could tap into in the future for that. But these are typically, capital projects that you're looking at, trying to be creative with funding for them, but yeah, it's definitely not aggressive enough.
So I've heard of other districts doing technology millages. So do they specifically ask for a certain amount to cover technology as separate from a sinking fund? Or do you know? I've heard of it, but I don't know the details.
They do sometimes.
Yeah, are you aware, Becky, of any districts that have done that recently? I mean, I
I
don't,
was thinking like Gull Lake, but that's been probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Off
So
the
that's-
top of my head, I cannot think of any districts that have gone for a specific technology bond in this area recently.
Gull Lake might have been involved in the K-RISA countywide millage that they used their proportion, which was around 1.2 million for something like that. And we don't do that in Calhoun County at this point. So really, it's going to fall back on, after we've exhausted, which we will be exhausting the 22G funds here in Albion. When we get done with that, it's all going to fall on sinking fund for us as we roll into the next cycle for sinking fund.
Right, and that doesn't come up until 2022. So, we're gonna have to put some general fund dollars towards starting to do these upgrades.
Mhm.
The sinking fund renewal is 2022.
Yep. Got any answers for that? It is the nature of what we have to do, and I'd like to see us get a little more aggressive on the rotation of at least the equipment that we're using as far as iPads and Chromebooks and projectors, heavy use. And,
Very heavy use.
And we really need to roll them through and do it in such a way that we can replace some section within the district over and over and over, so it's almost like every year we're replacing something.
Correct. That's the way we should be doing it, yes.
And why did you come up with the 6-year cycle? Was that keeping budgetary constraints in mind? Is that where the 6-year cycle came from?
Ideally, yes. I tried to stay, aside from year 2 and 4, I was trying to stay under 200,000. That in the event we could just notch 200,000 annually, that would go towards something. So even if we had to take, like year 2 would be about $647,000, if we had to section that up over the course of time and, do a little bit here and a little bit there, we would still be doing something. Yeah.
I'm just struck that there's got to be a gap that's developing between the schools with money and the schools without money, and we're sort of in the middle of that. But if you're a DeConcha or a Marley, how are you funding this stuff? I don't know. There's got to be a gap there.
Well, if you remember, when I came over here from Athens, I had computers in the classroom with the military,
Yep.
U.S. military.
You did what you had to do.
And that was the only way we could do it. And in fact, some of those UPSs you have are come from there.
Really?
Yeah, one. I think there was a shipment from Space Mountain we brought back over here at one point in the first year I got here. So yeah, I mean, you gotta figure out a way to do it, or else you're just going to have antiquated equipment and people are going to be frustrated.
Fortunately, we work with some great staff, and they're very patient, as we try to find a resolution to fix their issue as quickly as possible. It seems like every couple of weeks I'm ordering a new shipment of projector bulbs right now, and we're able to stay on top of it that way currently. But sustainably, it's going to start failing even more. We've had projectors in the report, I actually mentioned this, is that we had projectors on the shelf that were just as old as the ones on the ceiling, that we took the one on the ceiling off because it had completely died to put an older one up, just because it worked somewhat in some places.
Becky, are you considering these projections in your budgeting process this year, or are you going to wait till next year after we get through sinking fund? I mean, are you including an add-on into our budget for technology this year?
For the next upcoming year, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
From our operational.
And I will continue to add the costs into the general fund until we can figure out a different alternative, whether it be the sinking fund or technology bond, whatever we can do. But as of right now, general fund's the only revenue source that we're going to be able to use to start.
So when you say technology bond, we would buy it all at once with one lump sum of money and pay it off over time?
Yeah.
'Cause I guess I was envisioning a millage would bring in 100 and whatever thousand per year that would just cover it.
Right.
So are those two
So
different
if
ways
you
of
did
doing
the-
it?
Well, if you did, there are districts that specifically, before the sinking fund was opened up, go for technology.
So the change in the law is what is stopping people from doing that?
The law just changed, so I don't want to speak to that. There are districts that just go out for technology. And that's what they take to the state, and that's what's on their canvas, and they just get approval for technology. Because there are districts that are one-to-one out
Yeah.
there, and so that's how they have to maintain unless they charge fees to parents and use the general fund. So, I mean, my child is in a one-to-one district, and we have to pay for him to have that device, even though we paid for it in the bond, you still have to pay for him to use it. So there's some different things that people are doing.
And we're looking at, it was 1.8 million for 6, so if we were to replace every 3 years, we're talking 600,000 a year is really,
Correct.
you know, because it's a continuous,
Yes.
I mean,
It's
to
always
really
gonna be
make it
there.
work, it's going to be
Yeah.
pretty diligently changing every 3 years to stay on top of it. And, I mean, there would be some reduced costs down the road as far as repairs and not as many light bulbs and things like that, but it doesn't equate to 500 or 600,000 at all.
Well, and right now, we've went, 2015 was the last time we did a big purchase for any items. 2014 before that, but I believe before those 2 years, as best as I can find in documentation, is it was probably around 2012, 2011, maybe 2010 was the last time. And so you've got that window where you didn't buy anything, and now the bill's coming due, basically.
Right.
So,
When the scary thing is what you're proposing right now may be obsolete in 2
Correct.
years anyways.
this is the best that we could come up with for projecting what is used in the classroom currently, what's a benefit, and then how we can create a sustainable, fiscally responsible model over the course of 6 years. That was the goal with this. So,
And in my latest or most recent experience with our MTA conference committee, that was on their agenda about replacing equipment and upgrading equipment that they've been holding on to for some time.
I know both my current job and my last job, if the computers doesn't work, you might as well go home, right? I mean, everything you do.
Well,
that's
everything's
us,
dependent on it, right?
So,
It's
same with,
It's
yeah.
true for me now.
and it's not going away.
Yeah, no.
No.
You're dead in the water without it, so.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Next, we're going to move to a consent agenda. This is the minutes, disbursements, and then we've talked about the 2 employments. Can I have a motion?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Chris, we'll start with you.
Yes.
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 Next, we're going to move to action items, financial. You want to do the background on these, Andy?
Sure. I'll read all 3 of them. Under A, approve the purchase of one off-lease regular education school bus. As indicated at the March 27, 2017 Board Business Session, the district will need to purchase one bus to shore up its current fleet. The Transportation Director recommends exercising the buyout option to purchase a bus the district has been leasing jointly with MYCA, specifically Unit 15A, at a cost of $55,260. Item B, it will be necessary for the district to replace the bus jointly leased with MYCA that will be coming off lease. 3 school bus vendors were contacted on March 28, 2017, and invited to bid on the lease of 1 or 2-year-old buses. Bids were due back April 12, 2017. Only one vendor responded with a bid. That bid was received from Midwest Transit. The Transportation Director is proposing leasing a 2016 77-passenger bus from Midwest Transit at a cost of $14,995 per year for 2 years. And then C, this has to do with lawn mowing services. Board Policy 6320 requires that any single item costing more than $5,000 be board approved. The board is being asked to consider awarding lawn mowing totaling $69,316.74 as recommended by the Facilities Director. And it is the recommendation of the superintendent that these action items financial be approved as written.
Yeah, I move for approval of action items A through C.
Second.
Discussion?
Just like curiosity, why is the Opportunity High School so much more than the high school? I sort of envision them being about the same size, but
They're not.
I'm guessing they're not, because it's quite a bit more.
No, they aren't. And we have like 3 different companies we will be working with in this plan. And the total is the 60,
It's all together.
yeah, 69, a little over 69,000. And it has to do with scope and ability to respond. It also has to do with quality.
These are all things that we used to do ourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, the lawn mowing is really multiplied after coming to Albion with the different facilities. I mean, when you think about us taking down Caldwell, once we do that and bring it to green space, that green space needs to be mowed. And so we still own that. And we own property up and down this road and a lot of property on this complex here that requires mowing, including the football fields or the sporting fields that were up to this date handled by Albion College. But that was under the short-term agreement to allow us, for us to allow them to use our facilities first in Albion, with Albion Community Schools, and then we picked up on that. And they would take care of the fields for us while they did that so that they could have summer camps. Well, that's changing a bit, and so we're going to be looking at picking up that cost as well.
So they're not doing the summer camps, or they're doing it on their own facilities?
On their own facilities, the improvements they've made at Albion College, they're ready to take that on. They, with the exception of wanting to use Harrington Elementary as a marching band camp in the lower level of the grass space we have. And they're going to manage that for the period of time they're using it.
When are we looking for this to start? For this summer?
Tomorrow,
No? Okay. Just making sure.
Grass is getting long.
grass is getting long. Tim, tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Okay. I think the buses we've just gone over through discussion previously, right?
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll start with you, George.
Yes.
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 Okay, next we move to action item curriculum and instruction, approve advanced placement world history curriculum.
Okay, at the board business session on March 27, 2017, the board discussed the recommendation received from the curriculum director to adopt AP World History curriculum. The Curriculum Council joins the curriculum director in recommending the curriculum proposals. The curriculum has been available for the public to review since March 27th, 2017, to provide an opportunity to receive public input. The curriculum is now being presented to the board for action. It is the recommendation of the superintendent that the action item curriculum and instruction be approved as presented.
I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Everybody's good? Okay, we'll start with you, Richard.
Yes.
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 Okay, next we move to public comments. People can speak about any topic. Please keep it to 3 minutes.
One quick comment and one quick FYI. As you're considering renovation of this building, I just wondered if there was any thought to a Shamrock Center in Albion or some type of childcare facility for before and after school care for our little ones. There aren't a lot of options in town.
The answer would be yes.
Thank you. And two, on Thursday night also, in addition to your meeting, we are recognizing the next class of Build Albion Fellows. There are 9 students who have been admitted to the program and have accepted. 8 of them are Marshall High School students, and 1 of them is a Concord student. We'll be having a dinner in their honor at Baldwin Hall at 6 o'clock.
What day is that?
That's on Thursday, too.
Wow, that's a
It's a
busy night.
night. Busy
Wow.
night. But if any of you would like to come, you're more than welcome. Probably 6 to about 7:30 would be my guess.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I always have to be careful not to blow these out. So my name is Cindy Stanzak. I'm the director of the Albion District Library. I just wanted to give a quick 3-minute update on the events that are going on down at the library. For those of you who attended Eggs and Issues, I apologize. A lot of this will be very familiar information. For those of you who haven't, I always encourage you to come down, and I do have copies of our newsletter if anybody's interested. The big events for the children's room are family literacy nights. We also have a family literacy program. I know that the literacy program at the schools is intense, and I cannot tell you just how much we appreciate the cooperation of the folks over at Harrington and letting us partner with their literacy events and their parent events. We just had the family literacy night at Kids and Stuff Museum with the theme of bubbles, and apparently there was a lot of fun. The next one is coming up on May 16th, and the theme is Color Your World. That one will be at the Albion District Library. I learned today that I believe that one may have already filled up. So I encourage anybody who's interested. This program works with the children, usually ages 2 to 6. It's funded by the Albion Homer United Way and works both with the children on their skills, but also with the parent as their child's first teacher. One of the strong goals is that the parents feel more comfortable taking a strong stance and a strong position and an active role in their child's education, with the hope that also as their children enter school, they will be more actively engaged with the school system that their children are in. So that is coming up. We are very excited. We have dogs that you can read to again. We had little Yorkies for a while that were read trained, capital R-E-A-D. It is basically a form of therapy dog training, but these are trained to just sit and cuddle with the kids and let the kids read to them. It's so important when children are developing their reading skills to kind of let them learn the words sort of for themselves, and as a non-teacher and admittedly a non-parent, I'm an auntie, but I am not a parent, I always, I struggle to not correct and to give that word that they're struggling with. Well, that's just not an option for the dogs. The dogs are just happy that somebody is going to sit there and read to them. And so the new dogs are named, I believe it's Ajax and Jet. Jax and Nero. I was completely wrong. So Jax and Nero, and they are German Shepherds, and they are sweet as all get out. And we're seeing a large number of older children coming in and reading, and we do have a lot of struggling kids, so we're thrilled to see that. Upcoming events for the adults, if anybody has never been, our Death by Chocolate Party, which is open only to teens and adults, is coming this Saturday. It is registration required. It is free if you have a card or if you live within our district, which does not align completely with Marshall Public Schools, but if you're interested, please let me know. That is a free event, only $5 if you are outside the district. Do not come on an empty belly. You need something to balance all that caffeine and sugar, and do not come dressed like this is a date. You will be playing with chocolate, chocolate syrup, drinking chocolate, playing with chocolate, making chocolate, doing chocolate trivia and chocolate games. You may very well be playing Pictionary with chocolate syrup. I don't know yet. I'm still working that out. Be prepared to get a little messy. And then also we're partnering with East End Studios for a series of art programs. The next one coming up is on May 9th, and we are making wind chimes out of wine bottles. You do not have to bring your own wine bottle. We will provide those. There is a small cover charge for the supplies and her work, splitting and cutting and sanding all of these bottles, $5 and $10. Lastly, we are doing our computer class drop-ins for the month of May. So if you are struggling with a new device or an old device that you have inherited because your children or grandchildren have received a new device, you can come in and drop in for different topics on different days, and we will have somebody available to help you learn how to, set up privacy lists on Facebook, or create an account on Pinterest, or learn how to use that new Android or Apple phone or tablet. We do have one person on staff who knows how to do a Google 8 or a Windows 8 phone, so that you'd be looking for me. I have copies of the newsletter if anybody's interested. That is a mere taste of the items that are just happening coming up, and this included some items that were happening in April. I want to speak to the issue of the technology. Oh yeah. We are also there because we also receive USAC and E-rate funding, and it is a constant struggle. We have over 50 computers just in our single building, so the scale of what you were was just truly amazing. The thing that we always deal with is the out of warranty issues and the technology becoming purposely made obsolete, which is a struggle. But I would imagine, unless you've worked some fudge factor, and this is at current prices, correct? So as those rise, yeah, that is a struggle we also deal with. We were very, very excited. We just received a $5,000 grant from the Olson Family Foundation to begin the replacement cycle on ours, because we have also been without a replacement cycle. So it is a battle we are all fighting, but technology is not going anywhere. So we have to make sure that we're keeping up with the times. And I just want to commend you. That is a very impressive schedule, and I think you may have worked with Bill Gates at one point, because it looks a lot like his. Now, whether he got it from you or you got it from him, it's just tech guys. I love them. And yes, our IT guy is named Bill Gates, okay? But it's not that Gates. So is there any questions for me? I apologize. I know I went over my 3 minutes.
We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment?
I always get weirded out by microphones, so excuse me. Kevin Metz, parent, fourth grader. I have a reminder and a frustration to share. The reminder is that about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, we were discussing annexation in this community, and your administration offered equity amongst the elementary schools if annexation was to happen. The frustration is that my daughter's in fourth grade. And while I realize that equity will take years to achieve, she doesn't have years to achieve. More so, the frustration comes from the fact that she plays on a soccer team with children who live in our community but attend other elementary schools. And she's just as aware as I am of the inequity between Harrington and our other elementary schools. I can honestly tell you, based on my daughter's experiences, so speaking only through my daughter's experiences, that fourth grade for her outside of the classroom has been worse than third grade, which was not the direction I was expecting her educational experiences to move following annexation. So that being said, I would just like to remind you of the offer you made a year ago. I don't know what you're discussing. I don't know what you have planned. But I would greatly prefer if things went the opposite direction that they're going right now. Thank you.
Kevin, could you meet with me and tell me specifically what your concerns are?
Sure.
Great, thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, board member comments for which no action may be taken at this meeting. Do you have anything?
Anybody catch La Miz?
What's that?
Heard really good things.
Les Miserables. Did you guys catch that? It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. So we've got 2 years back to back where the productions from the Fitzgeralds have been just incredible. And so last year was Beauty and the Beast, and this year was Les Miserables. So I'm really excited about the direction this is going. People have been coming up that have seen it and just said how outstanding it was. So really good kudos to the high school and the program that's being done there.
I heard it was great. I was out all weekend, so I missed it. But I heard wonderful things. Yeah.
We are adjourned.